Beyond Your Backyard is brought to you in part by Montgomery County in the Blue Ridge Mountains of Southwest Virginia. Montgomery County, Virginia. Go to town.
Hi, I'm Erik the Travel Guy. It's a beautiful day in the neighborhood. That's why we're exploring the Laurel Highlands of Pennsylvania.
My name is Erik Hastings. Yeah, that's me. And for as long as I can remember, I've always loved to travel. And I still do today. Airlines, hotels, cruises, new places, delicious food. I love all of it. And that's why I've been traveling the world professionally, doing the very same things you can do for more than a decade. So please consider this a personal invitation to join me each week on my mission to get you traveling more than ever before. Because while the world is a pretty big place to explore, your next vacation is waiting to be discovered not just around the globe, but perhaps just around the corner. Let me introduce you to the places, people, and secrets I've discovered that remind me just how exciting it is to be alive, and hopefully will inspire you to get out of the house and into your next great adventure. I am Erik the Travel Guy, and this is Beyond Your Backyard.
Thank you for watching and welcome. You know, one of the aspects about this series that I absolutely adore is sometimes I get to learn together with you about places I know relatively nothing about. Well, the Laurel Highlands of Pennsylvania is one of those places. Yeah, I've driven through here a number of times, but I've never really taken the time to stop and learn. We're gonna fix that today. So, on this particular episode, we're gonna explore a little early American history. Wait till you see the fort. We're also going to show you some breathtaking American architecture. We will learn more about an American icon. More on that in just a couple of seconds. Yes, we have some family fun in store. And I'm going to introduce you to a woman that you are going to fall in love with, well, for a number of reasons. One of which, she's going to show us how to make, step by step, a delicious breakfast sandwich. Oh, and there may be a very rare sighting of the very rare Pennsylvania river whale. I think we have a map. Let's get started.
As you know, Pennsylvania is a big state. We're using Pittsburgh as our major city gateway, and I always suggest a couple days in this classic American city. Pittsburgh International Airport may be an option, but after you get settled, get out and explore the museums, the neighborhoods, take a scenic river cruise, and be sure to sample locally brewed beer and delicious food. After all that stuffed cabbage, city chicken, and pierogies, rent a car and watch the hustle fall away into the rolling hills ahead. The Laurel Highlands region spans 3,000 beautiful square miles and is a mountainous, four-season playground with natural scenery, outdoor recreation, historic sites, and family attractions. So I thought we'd start by walking in the exact footprints of our very first president.
The French and Indian War took place from 1754 to 1763. Now, if you're a little rusty on your early American history like I am, don't worry, we have a little help coming. But before that, why don't you take a look around? Why is this important to the story of America?
So Fort Ligonier was built in 1758 during the French and Indian War, before there was the United States of America. When this was a British colony, there was a world war going on between England and France. So when you come to Fort Ligonier, it's really beyond local or national history. It is a site of world history.
Do you find that a lot of visitors don't even know that that's true?
Absolutely. A lot of people don't even know much at all about the French and Indian War, and when you tell them it's part of the First World War, called the 7 Years' War, it really kind of blows their minds.
Just like, what? What happened? I missed that whole section. Why is it that it gets overlooked when we start looking back on history a little bit by us average folks that don't have degrees?
Well, I think it's a little tricky for us to remember what happened before we became the United States, before the Revolutionary War, which was so important to our country. It's hard for people to figure out who to root for when you're looking at the French and Indian War, because it's between Great Britain and France and their associated Native American allies. And then you have people like George Washington who are fighting on the side of the British, not against them. So it's a little confusing, a little hard to try to figure out, how all of that was going on.
That makes perfect sense to me. What year are we working with here?
So the French and Indian War was 1754 to 1763.
And Ligonier was built in what year?
1758.
58. What was life like in this part of Western Pennsylvania, or this region at that time?
Well, it would have been totally unrecognizable to people today, because this was really the Wild West in 1758. Nobody lived out here. There were a couple of Native American trading paths, but not even any Native American settlements in this area in 1758. It was truly a no man's land that the British Army came upon in 1758.
I want to talk about these guns behind us. They're pretty remarkable. Why?
So these were the pistols that were given to George Washington by the Marquis de Lafayette during the American Revolution. They are truly a national treasure and are among the most important firearms in North America. And it really led to people like George Washington, who had fought for the British during the French and Indian War against France, to deciding to fight against the British. And boy, did he need France to help him to do that.
He did. And I want to talk about George Washington's role here. What was he doing here? What did he do here?
So George Washington was 26 years old when he was here in 1758. He was a colonel in the Virginia Regiment, which was a colonial provincial regiment that was fighting with the professional British Army. He had incredible troops that he trained. The provincial troops had a reputation for not being the best soldiers, but he worked very hard to make his soldiers among the best provincials.
It's always hard to get good help.
Absolutely.
I mean, let's face it.
Yes.
Got it.
And he had faced a lot of trials and tribulations during the French and Indian War, and he saw his last action in the French and Indian War here at Fort Ligonier. And unfortunately, it was a really devastating friendly fire incident that he was in a couple of miles from the fort, where he lost a lot of his own fellow Virginians and had to sort of answer for that when he returned to Virginia.
And then didn't he get married shortly thereafter, right? Was it 1759? Did I get that right?
Yeah, he did. So after the friendly fire incident, he went with General Forbes and they took Fort Duquesne, and then he hightailed it back to Virginia and married the lovely Martha on January 6, 1759. And at that point, he thought he was done with the military, but we know that now to not be true.
So the French and Indian War was fought between France and Great Britain. The main area where the French and Indian War was fought encompassed the region from Virginia to Nova Scotia. Here in the Laurel Highlands, Fort Necessity National Battlefield is an excellent location to learn more about this conflict. The war officially ended in 1763 when the Treaty of Paris was signed and Britain won the rights to keep Canada. The war was expensive for both sides, and the British wanted the North American colonists to foot the bill, which essentially led to the American Revolution. If this time period is of interest to you, make a visit to historic Hannistown, which is the site of one of the last engagements of the American Revolution.
How does Pittsburgh play into all of this?
Pittsburgh hadn't been named Pittsburgh yet.
Right.
It got its name on this campaign. General John Forbes, his goal of the campaign was to take the French stronghold at Fort Duquesne, where Pittsburgh stands today. Now, when he finally took it, he found the fort blown up and abandoned by the French. And when he came in, he named it Pittsburgh after William Pitt, who was the Secretary of State in charge of the strategies and policies of the British Army in North America. And he was really responsible for the success of the British Army in North America in 1758.
Let's fast forward a couple hundred years. What are people going to see when they come here today?
Well, when people come into our museum, they're going to see some really exceptional exhibits that explain not only the story of Fort Ligonier, but of the global 7 Years' War and the people that were involved. When they step out into our magnificent reconstructed fort, they're really going to experience history firsthand by walking the grounds that people like George Washington walked over 260 years ago.
I would imagine getting the supplies in and out of here would be very easy with that giant highway that's right next door here, right? I mean, that was here, right, in the mid-1700s?
Oh, absolutely not.
No, yeah, it was actually the river, right? And they moved the river?
The Loyalhanna Creek used to run right next to the fort. Route 30 is there now. It was moved in the mid-20th century to make way for Route 30. And in order to get here in 1758, they had to build the road, and they also had to build the forts, and it was the soldiers who were doing this. So between Philadelphia and Fort Duquesne, about every 50 miles, General Forbes had a fortified supply depot like Fort Ligonier built, and Fort Ligonier was the last fortification before going after Fort Duquesne, and that was to protect that crucial supply line.
And how far, relatively speaking, are we in between here and Fort Duquesne?
We're about 50 miles away.
See how this all comes together. I love it when a plan comes together. Thank you for this. I really appreciate it. You may be thinking that George Washington is one of my favorite icons, which he is, but that's not the icon I was referring to earlier in the show. Okay, but I'll give you a hint. WQED in Pittsburgh. You see, that's the public broadcasting station. Oh, wait a minute. We're here. I'll get back to that in a second. I got to show you this. Come here. It's true. It's almost unbelievable what you'll discover when you're here at Falling Water. Some say this is the most spectacular of all Frank Lloyd Wright houses. Want to take a closer look? Come on. This spectacular retreat was built between 1936 and 1938 and was built directly over this waterfall.
It served as a summer home of the Kaufman family until 1963, when it was bestowed to the Western Pennsylvania Conservancy, which shortly thereafter opened to the public. Frank Lloyd Wright was a prolific American-born architect who some believe changed the way we build and live, designing 1,114 architectural works of all types, 532 of which were realized. Wright created some of the most innovative spaces in the United States. Born in Wisconsin, his career spanned 7 decades before his death in 1959. His visionary work cemented his place as the American Institute of Architects' greatest American architect of all time. So spend your time exploring Falling Water. And here's a bonus. Just a short drive away, you'll also discover 3 more gorgeous Wright homes to enjoy. It's almost a page out of the land of make-believe. Which reminds me, located in Farmington, Pennsylvania, you may want to explore Falling Rock, a luxurious resort dedicated to unprecedented service. I mention this because the design of this property is an homage to Frank Lloyd Wright. Falling Rock has been named one of the top 58 resorts in the world, according to Forbes, and it's situated on the grounds of Nemacolin Woodlands Resort, which, if you have the time, is definitely worth a visit and certainly an overnight stay. After spending some time with the general manager, we packed up, hit the open roads, and made a stop for a quick bite.
You know, one of the locals' favorite places here in the Laurel Highlands, it's called Bittersweet Cafe, and now we completely understand why. The crew and I stopped for lunch, and we decided, well, what's better for lunch than to have breakfast for lunch? This sandwich will change your life. I'm not kidding. Oh, amazing. Good jealous. Oh!
I don't want to interrupt your lunch.
Oh my gosh, Terry. This is Terry.
How is everything
Terry,
going?
good to see you again.
Good to see you too, Erik.
You know, this sandwich makes me hug.
Amen.
I mean,
You're enjoying it.
What's the secret behind making an amazing breakfast sandwich?
Everything's made in-house. From the English muffin to the jelly, the mustard,
What?
even the sausage.
Come on, you made this muffin?
Yes, sir.
This is,
We're making them in the kitchen right now.
are you serious?
Yes, sir.
Should we go make one?
Absolutely.
Will you show us how to make one?
Absolutely.
I'm sure we don't have time, but why not? Let's just go do it. Let's go make a sandwich. Let's go. Can I bring this with me?
Sure, go right ahead.
We'll be in the kitchen if you need us. Come on. I don't know what you're putting in this sandwich. Is it like magic? Is it the deal?
Just a few simple ingredients, just elevated by being put together.
All right, come on. Let's go make one. Come on. Pasteurized eggs?
Yes.
Got it. Okay. Right. One hand?
Sure, 1 or 2. Go for 2.
Wow, look at that. So pepper that.
Yep.
Got it? Oh, I love pepper. Look at this English muffin. Look at this. This is, look at this. Look at this. Look at the texture of that. Oh, you're not getting that in the store. Forget it. It doesn't exist. Plop it down here.
Yep, plop it
In the
right
back?
down there. That's fine. Yep.
Homemade. How long does it take to make an English muffin like this?
Day and a half, I'd say.
Oh, we're just letting this egg just sit here, right?
Yeah, just let it ride.
Flip, you ready for the flip? I'm flipping out over this sandwich. Oh, come on. All right, I'm leaving it. Give it a little, break it.
Yep. Let it ride
And
a little
leave
bit
it.
more. Yep. Just letting it ride.
Just like the casino last night.
Yep, nothing to do until.
Did you say muffin to do? Gotta have good cheese, right? You use good cheese, you don't need the butter.
Good cheese. That's all that matters.
Okay. That worked. We'll cover up my mistake right there, right? Look at that.
Absolutely.
Nobody will ever know the
Cheese
difference.
covers everything.
I made a whole career out of that statement alone. The muffin man laughed at that one. That's good. Homemade. You practically knew this pig.
Yep,
See?
gotta have a
See?
look, you do.
Oh, you didn't tell me that was hot. Can't take the heat. Get out the kitchen. Oh, who does this remind you of? Look at that. Come on, that's Mickey right there. Now, here's what I'm thinking. We're gonna do this the Erik way. This is roasted red pepper jelly.
Yes, sir.
You make this here?
We do, absolutely.
Oh my gosh. And the mustard too. Is it like a Dijon kind of honey situation?
Yeah.
You come to the Laurel Highlands at the Bittersweet Cafe. No, the necessary. It's so good, you don't even need it. I'm gonna take a bite of this, and you squirt a big old thing of that right on the top. We're gonna chase it with the jelly.
Sounds
You wanna do it the Erik way? This is how we handle things. You ready? Everybody ready with this? Now, don't get stingy when we get to the end.
Oh, I'm
okay? All right. Everybody ready? Oh. And you're right. That's a classic right there.
Now bring it on.
I'm telling you,
That would happen here.
that's amazing. I'm leaving. It's the greatest thing ever. I'll be in the car if you need me. Thanks, guys. Good killer.
Bittersweet Cafe is just one of those spots to break bread here in the Laurel Highlands. While I'm not comfortable generalizing the culinary identity of this part of the state, it's safe to say the crew and I ate well on this trip. Nemacolin Woodlands Resort is home to a diverse collection of restaurant options, and in just about every price range. My buddy Jeremy opened the comfort food restaurant Stonehouse Restaurant and Inn, and the options are hearty and delicious. No matter where you eat on your trip here, look for menus featuring freshwater fish entrees and farm-to-table creations. You see, the Laurel Highlands are located in western Pennsylvania, which means this is a four-season destination. In the winter, the trees glisten with new fallen snow. Ski resorts can be found here. Relaxing by a warm fire and everything in between can all be part of the adventure. One of my favorite times of the year is fall, where the air is crisp and the leaves are amazing. But let's not forget spring, where the flowers come alive, and summer, well, it's pretty much self-explanatory. That's why I decided to hit the raft, so to speak.
I loved it. Why are we shooting the rest of the day? We should be doing that the rest of the day.
All I can say is wow. I've never stepped foot in a raft like this, and I loved every minute of it. After all, it was a beautiful day in the neighborhood. The safety demonstration was thorough, our expert guide was perfect, and the water, well, yes, I got wet, and I can't wait to return. Another excellent starting point is Ohiopyle. This is Pennsylvania's largest state park. River trips aren't just for the brave and adventurous like yours truly. Take a family-friendly river trip on the Middle U, which offers 9 miles of gentle rapids perfect for a leisurely float. These Class 1 and Class 2 rapids are ideal for novice kayakers, families with young children, and those looking for a relaxing way to cool off. Or hop on a bike or a mountain bike for miles of exploration. A ziplining adventure is also an excellent option. The outdoor recreation list is seemingly endless.
Did you know America's third oldest operating theme park is right here in the Laurel Highlands? Yes, it's called Idlewild and Soak Zone, and it is awesome. They've been in business since 1878. You're gonna love it.
Here you'll find classic rides like the carousel, Ferris wheel, roller coasters, and Daniel Tiger's neighborhood trolley. Which reminds me, remember that icon I was telling you about? Shh, I can still hear the music like it was yesterday.
Those of us that grew up in the 1970s remember vividly and regard with reverence Mr. Rogers and Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood. Well, the reason we're here in Latrobe, Pennsylvania is because this is the childhood home of said television icon, Fred McFeely Rogers.
This is a private home and not available for tours, but Mr. Rogers grew up here and spent most of his adult life producing meaningful programming and education for children through public broadcasting and appearances, which is why our final stop today is the Fred Rogers Center at Vincent College. For me, this center is awe-inspiring. The gallery celebrates the life, times, and prolific work of this American television iconic figure. Spend an hour marveling at the artifacts and learn more about how one man led the charge to forever change the landscape of educational children's television programming. And while we're on the subject, please consider this a personal invitation to explore the Laurel Highlands of Pennsylvania and discover its history, the expansive outdoors, family fun, interesting locals, and of course, delicious food. And speaking of one of my heroes,
Mr. Rogers gave his last commencement address in 2002 at his alma mater, Dartmouth College in New Hampshire, and these are his original notes. You can see his handwritten notes, the handwritten speech, and then eventually the typed version. And frankly, I can't think of a better way to end our time together today. And in the immortal words of this television icon, don't fret, I'll be back when the day is new. And yes, I will have more ideas for you, and you will have things you want to talk about, but you know what? I will too. I'm Erik the Travel Guy. Thank you for exploring beyond your backyard.
It's such a good feeling to know you're alive. It's such a happy feeling. You're growing inside, and when you wake up, ready to say, I think I'll make a snappy new day. It's such a good feeling, a very good feeling, the feeling you know that I'll be back when the day is new, and I'll have more ideas for you, and you'll have things you'll want to talk about. I will too.
Is this Frank Lloyd Wright house making me look fat? This is the jacket. Okay. We can't see the house. Oh, sorry. Attention, falling water shoppers. There's a sale on triangles in the gift shop.
It's my, hey, whoa, what are you doing back there? Come on now, sugar.
How can you tell when the sound guy dies? The sound of the donut hits the ground. On this episode, we're making a sound effects record. That was a car or motorcycle taking off. There it goes. Get it into third gear. Thank you. I gotta get these pineapples to Hawaii before the storm. Just a minute on that.
You guys making a television show or something over here? I like to be on TV.
Are you Carson Daly?
You see Carson Daly, let me tell you. I love that guy. I love PBS.
Beyond Your Backyard is brought to you in part by Montgomery County in the Blue Ridge Mountains of Southwest Virginia. Montgomery County, Virginia. Go to town.
Hi, I'm Erik the Travel Guy. You know, I've been traveling the world professionally for more than a decade, and guess what I've learned? Is that fantastic experiences await you in every corner of the globe, and you don't always have to travel that far to uncover them. So join me each week as we go on and off the beaten path, meet really interesting people, and sample delicious food. And you never know, might even have a waterfall like that. We're exploring beyond your backyard.